Chapter 16. Good Memories and Pissed Off Memories. You watched Blue turn the wheel, pulling onto a road leading upwards. When everyone was ready to go, Blue asked if he could drive and take you somewhere. It wasn't with his usual cheer, and he spoke softly. You figured Brian may have said something to upset the skeleton, given the crap you heard from the guy today. Then, as the drive went on in awkward silence, you knew it had to be something else. He wouldn't normally look this solemn just because Brian said something mean-spirited. To try to distract yourself from his behavior, you stared outside the car window. There was a cliff near the beach. You noticed it as Black dragged you into the water. Seeing how the road was moving upward, trees giving way to rocks and stone, you realized Blue was driving you to the top of it. You saw a word spray-painted on a rock. Makeout point. Blue, did you notice?
Yes, reader, I saw the rock. Don't worry, I'm not taking you there for kissing.
Blue said with a chuckle, giving a real smile for the first time. You smiled as well, happy to see his spirits lifting. Nah, I know I'm safe. If it was Red driving, then I'd be worried, you said, before slapping a hand over your own mouth.
Oh, really? You don't say.
Blue said nonchalantly, even though his eyes glowed brighter. Well,
Reader, please don't feel like you have to watch your words with me when speaking about the others. I know I need to let you. Oh, good, here we are.
Blue pulled the car into a small parking lot, which was empty. Maybe it would get more crowded when it turned dark, considering the nickname you just saw. It was getting a little infuriating how quiet Blue was as he exited the car and motioned you to follow him with a smile. This was normally someone who would talk a mile a minute about fun plans for a full week before said fun plans happened. It was always Stretch who kept a quiet air of being mysterious. Not him. But Stretch isn't around anymore. The thought didn't exactly make you depressed. You barely knew him. But it did make you think of how different Blue might become because of the skeleton's absence. At least, all this was a good distraction from realizing you'd never see Brian again. You knew you reached that decision when telling him to leave. Stretch's death may not have affected you, but Blue would forever be changed because of it. No one should be told they deserve to lose someone they loved. You found yourself sitting next to Blue on a bench, perfect spot for a beautiful view of the ocean. You could even see the beach you were at today to the left, white sand stretching far out. Blue, I'm going to be honest. You're scaring me a little. You're not normally this quiet.
My apologies, but do you like the view of this place?
Blue asked, a hand falling on yours and giving it a squeeze. You didn't pull away. Friends could hold hands, right? It wasn't a big deal. The fingers were so much larger than yours, but the phalanges squeezed your own fingers gently. Yeah, it's nice, you said, taking a deep breath of the ocean air as you watched the blue water for a minute. The said minute turned into 5, then turned into 10. Finally, Blue let go of your hand, arm laying onto the side of the bench as he turned to you. The position made him attractive somehow, but you were trying your best to ignore it.
Right, so sorry for dragging you all the way up here. I know it was selfish, but I really wanted one more happy memory.
One more happy memory?
Yes, one more before you decide you want nothing to do with me.
Blue said softly, eyes going dim. You stared at him, the change in voice and expression so quick it threw you. It was like you were suddenly next to someone else. The pause from your surprise didn't last long, though.
Brian was using you.
A seagull cried out nearby right after the words. You jumped a little, becoming unnerved by how intense Blue's stare had become. I'm sorry. What do you mean by that?
He wanted samples of monster drinks and food for his company. He stole a sample when you took him to Grilby's. Grilby called the mansion. I answered and confronted Brian. I learned what he did.
I don't understand. If what you said was true, then you'd never let him come with us to. Oh, you asshole! You were on your feet shouting the words before you knew it because suddenly a lot of things were making sense. All those stupid confessions Brian made, the way he acted like a jerk and was practically trying to get you to dislike him, it was all making sense, and God, you really wish it didn't. Blue flinched, but otherwise simply sat there staring at you, the gaze from his lights flickering in his socket unnervingly. How how could you do that? Why didn't you just tell me the truth?
Because I thought I was protecting you. I thought I knew the best way to end it so you wouldn't be hurt.
So why are you telling me now, huh? Looks like your plan worked perfectly. Did a great job of tricking me and making me realize I'm an idiot, you said, realizing tears were on your cheeks. Of course you should have known it was all too good to be true. Brian being interested in you for you? God, what a joke you are. He fooled you with his dates, and even your whole fucking breakup with him was you being fooled.
Have you ever gotten someone you loved killed?
No, but apparently it's going to be impossible for me to find love, you said, realizing you weren't even being sarcastic.
You already have love. You have two skeletons who love you dearly. You're going to go on an outing with them.
Blue said with a soft smile. The images of your papyrus and sands popped in your head, and that alone caused the swelling hurt to stop. You weren't alone, and you had people who truly cared for you. You would get through this. Blue really didn't look like he fit in that category, though. Was all this supposed to be an apology? Because so far he hadn't once said the word sorry, and he appeared worn and sad. All that energy he used to always have, gone.
I did get someone I love killed. You've never been an idiot. The only idiot here is me. Ever since that day, I've been trying to grab onto you, not lose you even though I had no right to keep you.
Blue said, getting up. He walked towards you. You found yourself taking a couple of steps back. His strides were so much bigger than yours, though. Those large hands landed on your shoulders, keeping you in place. You could smell his mint breath as his flickering gaze continued to watch you.
I'm going to ask you something important,
Blue said, giving your shoulders a squeeze. You felt a rising panic because you already knew what he was going to ask. The therapy didn't work. He's still obsessed over you. You should have left when you had the chance. Now he took you to a romantic site, still delusional as ever.
Do you love me? Because I love you with all my heart. Will you please be my boyfriend? Can we have sex right here and now to soul bond? What do you want, reader?
You stared at him, trying to figure out what he was asking. Was he asking if you still wanted Brian? Did this even have anything to do with Brian?
You're helping with the machine because we want our family back, even because she has family which wants her back. But what are you going to do after that? What do you truly want when the machine is working? You bring back everyone and show just how great you are.
I... Your brain switched from one memory to the other. Classic Paps barely speaking to you, then wanting you to join them at the beach. Black ordering you to do tasks, then forcing candy down your mouth even though he's covered in cracks. Red not giving a damn about your feelings and now looking at you with want. Finally Blue? No, you weren't going there. Your sands and papyrus would be gone. You would be stuck with these guys and the others. How were you supposed to answer the question when the future was so unpredictable? Even now with the anger, maybe hate you see Tiffany get, you could see her convince them all to be with her again. And it wasn't like you could stop it. You couldn't even get one guy to sincerely want to date you. I don't know. You felt stupid saying it, like you should be able to say something else. Blue was studying you a minute before letting go of your shoulders with a nod, hands going into his jacket pockets as he cocked his head to the side.
Well, Please think about the question, reader, because I finally figured something out. And I'm sorry it took so long for me to do so.
Blue said with a sigh. What did you figure out?
That only you know what makes you happy, silly.
Blue said with a wink. Okay, I'll definitely think about it. You said, finding it hard to look at his face. You basically just found out he betrayed your trust. He also asked an important question, something you really should have thought about before now.
Let's try a slightly different question. Is there anything you want from me specifically? Anything I can do? Or any question you have for me?
What did the letter say to make you sleep with her? You really needed a moment to get your brain in order. That wasn't a question you ever planned to ask. Oh, it was always there in the back of your mind after Red told you about the letter. After realizing it had something to do with him having sex with Tiffany and forming a soul bond. Wait, you don't have to answer that. I shouldn't have asked, you said, finding yourself near panicking. The skeleton didn't look nearly as freaked out as you were afraid he'd be, though. He just appeared a little sadder, shoulders slumping.
It's fine. I didn't actually tell anyone. Not even Bob, my therapist. But I'm fine with telling you.
Blue said, taking a seat on the bench. You followed suit, feeling stiff as a board, regardless of the relaxing scenery.
A lot of it was just nonsense about how she secretly always had feelings for me, how she admired and valued me as much as my brother, and, well, a lot of stupid stuff which I know now is made up. Ironically, the one thing that made me decide to accept her invitation was something actually true.
You didn't say anything during his pause, his words acting as a good distraction from your own inner thoughts.
It was near the end of the love letter. She said if I was soul bonded with her, we'd all have a link through her to be together forever. What she said made sense. If all 8 of us were soul bonded to her, we'd never go our separate ways.
But you would if you were with me, you said, turning to stare at the ocean again.
I know I was terrible at showing commitment, but I did think about soul bonding with you, and I realized there was a good chance me and my brother might go separate ways in life if that happened.
I guess I can understand. The slap on your head hurt just a tad. Wasn't too hard. But still, you were definitely not in the mood to be hit right now. You hissed in pain, turning to Blue, who didn't appear a bit apologetic as he pulled his bony hand back. What the hell?
Sorry, but you were about to say something stupid, like what I did to you was fine.
I was not. I mean, the way you went about it was shitty. You could have at least told me your reasons before fucking her. You nearly shouted. The stupid skeleton was actually smiling as you raised your voice, which in turn was only making you angrier.
There's a lot of things I should have done differently. I should have respected you. Even now, I still didn't show you respect you deserved. So, now that you know everything, do you hate me?
The smile was gone now, and Blue was scratching at a plank on the bench with a single finger. Eyes totally focused on the plank instead of you when he asked the question. You took a deep breath, finding simply one thing to be true about all this. It was just all plain not fair. Not fair to unload all this on you. Not fair to ask what you wanted when you had no clue. And definitely not fair to ask whether you hated his guts, especially after he just slapped your head. I don't hate you, but I think I can say for certain I don't trust you, you said, trying to keep your answer simple. Honestly, you didn't want to think too much about how you felt about Blue. Today was a combination of betrayal with bearing soul confessions. You needed some space to understand where you and Blue stood with each other. The skeleton smiled again, more cheerful than you expected. He stood and stretched, then put both hands on his hips. It was a classic The Magnificent Blue pose you haven't seen in a long time.
Well, it appears I now have a challenge of earning your trust back. The Great Blue will face this challenge head on. Just know I'll do anything asked in order to show I'm your friend.
Blue said, pose in place as his smile appeared to get wider. You stared at him for a second and found yourself smiling too as you shook your head. You really do utterly confuse me. You know that, right? You said, getting up and stretching as well. Dear God, he was acting exactly like old Blue. And you had no idea if that was a good or a bad thing. As long as he went to therapy, though, you weren't going to worry about it. You wanted to get to your own sands and papyrus soon, though, where you'll try to forget this day through cuddles and hot chocolate. Blue handed you the keys, and the drive back was quiet. So much was said, and both of you had a lot to think about. The two of you reached the mansion last, seeing Classic Pap speaking with a middle-aged man dressed in a business suit near the front door. There was something familiar about him with his raven dark hair and face. You could tell it wasn't a pleasant conversation as the two of you approached. Classic Pap's shoulders were tense and arms crossed. Everything about his body said he was agitated.
Please, human, as the ambassador themselves said, we will update you if we make any new progress.
Please, I just want to speak with the assistant fixing the machine. It's been over 2 months since I saw my daughter. Blue lets out a hissing breath as the words hit both of you. This is Tiffany's father. The man appeared to realize their presence only a second later because he turned and smiled when he saw both of you. You only saw him take one step before a wall of monsters were blocking your way. Blue didn't speak a word, but you could see the hands curling up into fists. One of your own hands latched onto his forearm, gently rubbing and squeezing it. You were trying to convey a message with the touch because your tongue was stuck in your mouth. You didn't have the words to try to explain everything was okay. Not to get angry, please relax. One hand went over yours and gave a gentle squeeze, the large body in front of you losing some of its tension.
Blue, perhaps you should go inside. Mr. Levine would like a moment to speak with Reader. I'll be here to make sure it all goes smoothly.
You took a peek from behind Blue. You couldn't see what expression Blue was giving, but the older man had gone a shade paler, and Classic Paps was frowning with forehead wrinkled up.
Reader, what do you want?
Seriously? This question again? Oh wait, he means with this. I'm good with speaking with Mr. Levine. I'll be fine with Classic Paps here, Blue. We've both had kind of a stressful day. Why don't you go inside and try to relax? You said, giving his back a pat with the other hand. The large skull turned, and his face almost appeared normal, except for how fake the smile looked.
Of course, Reader. I'll just be in the living room if you need me. Only a shout away.
Blue said, letting go of your hand. Then he turned and walked to the front door, while Mr. Levine took a couple of steps to the right, practically using Classic Paps as a barrier. Everyone appeared to relax slightly when they heard the door close. Good day, Mr. Levine, you said, as you walked up to the two. You should have known Tiffany's last name really wasn't Loves. Looks like she had changed it to try to make herself sound more charming. Yes, hello. The monster there certainly appeared to not like me. I hope I didn't offend him in any way, Mr. Levine said, pulling at his collar.
Not at all. The subject of your daughter is simply a sore spot for him, given how she inadvertently killed his brother when destroying the machine.
Classic Pap said nonchalantly. Mr. Levine was back to turning pale, but you were too busy dropping your jaw. You weren't sure if what he said constituted rude, since it was the truth, but it sure was a lot of blunt, uncomfortable truth. This was the guy who once lectured Edge on being nicer with Amazon online reviews. Yes, well, I can see how my presence isn't welcomed here, the man said, shoulders drooping. You began to feel bad for him, and you were remembering what Frisk said about the man. He wasn't a bad person as far as they could tell. Mr. Levine, was there anything you wanted to ask about? I mean, if you want to know the specifics on what happened to your daughter and how we're trying to get her back, it's a bit complicated. Could take me a couple of hours trying to explain quantum physics.
Oh, no, no. I'm a businessman. Wouldn't have a clue what you were saying if you went into the science about it. I'm a little worried about how much effort will be taken to get her back. I mean, she's my little girl, but deep down, I know she has a bit of a selfish nature.
You exchanged glances with classic Paps, whose face was unreadable.
It's because of her mother, I know. I stay with her for the sake of the kids like our son, who is only 10, but I know she was a dark influence on her. I'm sure Tiffany already created a lot of resentment, but I just need to know you'll try to get her back, regardless of her flaws.
Mr. Levine said, eyes watering slightly. You took a deep breath, then awkwardly patted the man's shoulder. Mr. Levine, I promise you, I'll try everything I can to get her back to you alive.